Well, it's about 7 o'clock. Here in about 15-20 minutes, I'm going to head down to Tony's shop and we're going to take off on Tour of the West 2019. Um, normally on a big trip like this, the night before, I always have like cold feet. I start looking for excuses and reasons maybe to back out. I didn't do that this year, and I'm wondering if that's just because I've done quite a few motorcycle trips now, and I just feel pretty well prepared. You saw the video last night of we all came in yesterday. We had a few mishaps. The bag flew off the back of my bike. Casey ran it over for me. Tony about got rear-ended by F-150. We all almost got rear-ended by a bunch of people. Everybody did. We got Drew and Tony, and we're headed out. First stop's the gas station in Burnett, and then Mad Jack's Mountaintop Barbecue in Cloudcroft, and then some gas station on Route 66, and then Pueblo. We're in Hobbs, New Mexico. We just did a stretch of about 100-something miles. High winds, a lot of heat. I'm eating beef jerky, drinking water. Sucks. How many miles have we done today?
Continue on US 180 West for 15 miles.
How many miles have we done today?
That's what I told him. I said, let me know, otherwise I'll pull up. I'll pull up. I was fixing to put mine on until he said that. I got a flannel, one like that in my 384 so far.
384. Now we're here in Artesia, New Mexico. Casey's on the phone with his wife. Tyler's on the phone. Tony's on his phone. We just went through pretty much oil field country, I think. Bunch of pump jacks, stuff like that. Been on the road since 6 this morning. 6 this morning Central. It's now 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain Time. We're almost to the mountains, I think. Doing all right. We're doing good. Here in Cloudcroft, things aren't going too well. Tony's bike didn't start after we took some photos of the Lincoln National Forest sign. It took like an hour. It just randomly started back up. We don't know what was wrong with it. We are now in Cloudcroft, but somewhere back there Tony fell behind and we don't know where he's at. So now Casey has gone back to look for him while Tyler, Drew, and I just kind of sit here and wait. The 1,000-mile trip's pretty much dead now. We're gonna have to go through Raton Pass here after a while. It's gonna be in the dark, and it's gonna be bad. Things aren't going well at the moment. I hope everything's okay, but it ain't going well right now. Beautiful place. Well, things are looking pretty bad. Tony's bike is still not starting. We've been here numerous hours at this point. We're way way behind schedule on our trip. We're thinking maybe we could do the 1,000, but it's going to take us all night long to do it at this point, and Tony is probably not going to be able to do it. Tony's calling a wrecker to come pick him up, take him to the nearest Harley dealership, and then he's going to get an Uber and go to the nearest hotel, and we're going to have to split. Things have gotten fairly serious here on Tour of the West 2019, but it's going to be all right. We've all got phones, you know, we've all got a lot of resources and stuff, but we're still up here in Cloudcroft, and temperature's dropping a lot. It's probably about 60 right now. It's going to get down into probably the 30s or 40s tonight. I'd really like to get off this mountain. It is about 6 o'clock, 6:15 now. I haven't eaten today. We've had some not barbecue. We've had some beef jerky, but other than that, I haven't had like a hot meal yet. And once this wrecker comes to get Tony, we are then going to go to Tularosa, and I don't care what we do or where we stop. I'm getting a hot meal, and I'm getting some coffee in me, because we've got enough cold weather gear. I think we can make it through Raton Pass, even if it is late at night. I don't care if we got to creep over the mountain at 30 miles an hour. I think we've all kind of talked it over and decided that we're going to get our 1,000 in. By God. So, more updates later. That trip was a few months ago now. What a bad trip. I don't even really know how to describe it or how best to get into it. Everything went to shit, and it was it's the best way I can describe it is it was more of an adventure than a vacation at all, or even just a trip. It was an adventure, which that's good and bad. You always hear about, oh, this adventure, we're going here, we're going there. Normally those people are having fun. To me, if you're having fun, it's not an adventure. That trip reminded me of when I was in the Scouts as a kid, and we were pretty tough kids, and our trips sometimes were absolutely awful and horrible, and we had to sleep in 14 to 16 degree weather at night without we're in a tent, and it sucks. You're cold, and you're gonna have to double up sleeping bags and clothes and make sure you barely sleep because you're too damn cold. And then we'd go take trips in the summer, be like 98 degrees at night, and you can't sleep, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And you'd go all weekend without any sleep because you couldn't get comfortable in sleeping. You're just in a tent on the ground, and it sucks, but you just get sleep where you can. And it's a trip. Back then when I was in the Scouts, those trips were they sucked when I was on those trips. It was miserable. We had a wilderness survival outing where it rained on us, and our shelters were not waterproof, and we all just were soaking wet, and it was February, and it was cold as hell, and we didn't sleep, and we all had to huddle together on the school bus to try to stay warm. And our adults you didn't mess with the adults. The only time you went to go get help from an adult was if somebody broke their leg or cut a vein and you can't stop the bleeding. In our troop, you had to take care of yourself. And if you forgot your pillow or you forgot your sleeping bag, guess what? You're sleeping, completely natural on the ground. You're just going to have to deal with it. Anything you didn't bring or didn't prepare for, you had to pay for it. And there were plenty of times where we forgot to bring something and had to deal with it. That's how this trip was. Things continued to go wrong throughout the entire trip. And, to use an engineering term, I always think of it as like tolerance stacking. It's like a lot of these things that happened wouldn't have been bad if that's the only thing that happened, but it was just one right after another, and it all just began to get bigger and bigger and bigger as we went along on the trip. So let me see if I can sum this all up. We started out, and we started around Little Rock. Well, let's just say that. Around the time we got to Texarkana, a bag fell off the back of my bike. Casey ran it over with a street glide, and this wasn't a big deal. Not a lot of damage was done. We went back and got my bag, but I lost my clear visor. He ran that over and busted it. Well, I thought, screw it. We're not going to be doing a whole lot of riding at night. It'll be okay. I'll just use my dark visor, my dark smoke visor. Gosh, okay, and then somewhere around Dallas, this didn't contribute to the cascading failures later on, but this was something that happened. Around Dallas, somebody was in front of us with a big trailer, and he had like this big piece of equipment on the back, and it was like on the very back. He passed us, and then a few more miles up the road, he started to lose that piece of equipment off the back of his trailer, and everybody on the I-30 South or I-30 West South, whatever it is, or 35, I don't know what the hell it is. Whatever that interstate is going from Dallas to Austin. Everybody locked them up. I mean, bad. Including us. We all pretty much kicked our ABSs in. And I actually ran out of time. I had to go in between cars because I couldn't stop on time because it was that bad. I mean, everybody was slamming on the brakes. So we almost died then. So we haven't made it past Dallas yet. We've already had 2 instances already on this trip where something has happened. But we go the rest of the way to Austin. We go to sleep. And the next morning we take off. And we do okay, but we weren't really making good time. The more people you invite in a group, I've noticed the longer it takes to do anything. If you stop for gas, it's going to take longer because everybody's going to have, you might have a couple people who are going to have to share a pump, then you're going to have a line just from your own people, a line of people at the register trying to pay, or if you can't pay at the pumps, they're going to be in a line at the register. Everybody's got to use bathrooms. So now they're going to be waiting in line at the bathroom. It just takes longer when you got more people. So we weren't making great time. We stopped at Big Springs Harley because of this was another piece of the cascading failure. Casey's his comm devices, his comm badge, Sena, his Sena, he's got like a 10S or a 20S, something like that. The bracket broke on it. Like the bracket that holds it in, like the radio itself was still, I think, working, but the bracket wasn't working, so it wouldn't hold it to the connections. So he couldn't get, I don't know, for whatever reason, he never could get his comm system to link up with the rest of us, so he couldn't talk to us. He's by himself. So we stopped at Big Springs Harley. I can't remember what state that is. It's either Texas or New Mexico. I think it's Texas. We stopped there because he thought they might have a Sena that he could just buy. Whatever, they didn't have it. Big surprise. And so that kind of put us behind trying to go find a comm. Of course, I'm not mad at Casey about that. He can't help that. But there again, you'll see later on that it played into all of our failures that he couldn't talk to us. God, this just keeps going. And then so we finally get to Lincoln National Forest in New Mexico, and it's beautiful. And I'm sitting here thinking this is totally worth it because the stretch from like Big Springs to there sucked. It's like just flat, it's hot, it's windy as hell. We went through some road construction where we're just sitting on like 120-degree pavement for like 20 minutes. I mean, seriously, we were sitting there forever. The Harleys couldn't take it. A friend of mine's Street Glide, his started like spitting and sputtering. It's a 2018 Street Glide special edition, anniversary edition. It's that flat blue. Cool bike, but I mean, his started spitting and sputtering because it didn't like the heat. The other guy, Tony, he had a 08 Electric Glide Ultra Classic. I don't think his was liking it very much. And, of course, I'm on the Big Bad Bandit. Didn't bother painting, liquid cool. But it still sucked sitting there and standing there for that long on that pavement. We were all dying. And, but we finally get to the Lincoln National Forest. And, it was a really cool spot. Lincoln National Forest, if you've never been there, it's a beautiful area. And we were headed to Cloudcroft. Well, we stopped at the Lincoln National Forest sign, the picture that I just showed you, and Tony's bike wouldn't start. The old Electric Glide, the old Harley, wouldn't start. And so we waited for like 30 or 40 minutes, and we waited for like 30 or 40 minutes, and it finally cranked back up on its own. We took the seat off. We had a little bit of tools, between us to fiddle with it. We took the battery, or we disconnected the battery, kind of trying to hope to maybe reset whatever system was cutting spark, because it sounded like it was cutting spark. You could smell fuel after him cranking it for a long time. You could smell fuel. It's cranking over just fine, so it's got, the battery's fine. It's charged just fine. You can smell gas, so it's getting gas. It's just not getting spark, at all. It's not even getting weak spark. It's just getting no spark at all. So to us, we thought that was some kind of a cutoff of some kind in the electrical system. I don't know. To this day, we talk about it, and we don't know. I've had my dad suggested it might have been the altitude. I've thought to myself maybe it was the lower octane gas out there, because Tony's bike is stage 2. It's got like a tune, and we don't know what all was done to it. He bought it used. So who knows what was going on with it, but it wouldn't start, and we sat around. I said 30, 40, it might have even been closer to an hour. I don't know, but that put us way behind. But it eventually started on its own, and we were all like, hell yeah, let's go. So we took off, and I told Tony that there was only one road going to Cloudcroft. And I said, if we get separated, because we were all riding at different speeds, it's curvy roads, and, we had Ducatis and my Bandit, and then other guys, some people are wanting to go fast, some are wanting to go slower. I said, if we get separated, just stay on this road. It's US 82, maybe something. It's US 80 something. I said, stay on this road because this goes to Cloudcroft. I don't know if he heard me or not, because we were losing communication at that point for whatever reason. I think it's because he was falling behind a little bit, and the radios they were losing line of sight in the mountains. So I don't know if he heard me, but for whatever reason, we all got to Cloudcroft, and Tony wasn't there. So we sit at Cloudcroft Elementary School, and we wait for like 40 minutes. It's a long time. Casey says, we got to find Tony. He could be dead in a ditch somewhere. We got to find him. Tyler and I said, we don't know. Tony, you never know with Tony. He's probably fine, though. We're just going to wait. And, and we said, it also, if you want to go look for him, you can, but we're going to stay here just in case he does show up. If he's dead in a ditch, you'll find him. If he's fine, we'll find him, because he'll come through Cloudcroft. And so that was what we did. And Casey took off. And then like another 20 or 30 minutes later, here comes Tony on his bike. And he's completely pissed off because he did get separated. And I guess he didn't hear my message about staying on US 82, because he stopped, pulled out his phone, put in some directions, and it took him, there's only, 82 goes straight to Cloudcroft, and there's no other turns except for one. And it's a commercial truck exit. And for some reason, he says that his phone told him to take the commercial truck exit. And he went like 10 miles down that way, and before he realized this ain't it, and then turned around, came back to that one point, and then kept going, and then went on in the cloud cross. So he was gone forever. He was pissed off, and he said, well, where's Casey? Let's go. And we said, well, he's out looking for you. Shit, so Casey was gone for like another 40 minutes. So at this point, we've spent, probably about 3 hours, probably, all told, close to 3 hours on this mountain because of all kinds of weird reasons. And it was just bad. And then, so while we're waiting on Casey to get back, Tony kills his bike. And of course, it won't start again. So now we've got to wait like another hour. So now we're at like 4 hours we've waited on this mountain. So now we got to wait like another hour for Tony's bike before it finally starts back up again. Tony decided, he said, fuck it, I'm going home. He said, this bike is not reliable. I'm just going to try to get home. And I said, well, okay. We told him, you can go ahead and go on down the mountain. I think it's Alamogordo right down there at the base of the mountain, or you can go back the way we came, and like Roswell's like 90 miles down there, so you could probably just spend the night at Roswell. That'd be closer to home by a little. But, you just spend the night in Roswell. He said, well, that's what I'm going to do. And we bounced ideas back and forth for an hour about whether we were going to get a tow truck or whether we were going to, if it started, what was he going to do? Was he just going to go and try to ride it back home, or is he going to try to get a truck, a U-Haul or something in Roswell, or what is he going to do? Going to get a helicopter to get us off that mountain? I don't know, but it finally cranked back up, and he decided he was going to go back to Roswell. After that, we've spent, like I said, 4 hours on the mountain. We are 5 or 6. Tyler looked at the timing where we were supposed to be and where we were. We were 6 hours behind schedule. 6 hours behind fucking schedule. Every minute that goes by up on that mountain in Cloudcroft, I can feel the temperature just dropping and dropping. By the minute you could feel it. It was dropping. And I was like, guys, this isn't good. But, we got to thinking about it and talking about it. In that video, I am optimistic. That would not last long. We come off the mountain. Sun's coming down. I can't hardly see. Not only is the sun in my face, but my visor's covered in bugs. I've got my dark smoke, which is kind of weird because it helps with the sun, but then at the same time, there's not a lot of sunlight. We're on the dark side of the mountain, kind of, and I can't see. So I keep flipping my visor up, shutting my visor, flipping my visor, shutting them up because I can't see what I'm doing. But anyway, we get to Alamogordo, and, it sucked because the whole time we were up on the mountain, I thought, the only thing that's going to make this work, because we hadn't eaten all day. To get back to how this was like a scout trip, I hadn't eaten all day. It had been 24 hours since I'd had a meal. Holy shit. Seriously, I hadn't had a meal. We ate at like 5 o'clock. The evening before that at Tyler's house in Austin. This was like going on 7 or 8 o'clock. I hadn't had a meal. I had like one small bag of beef jerky that Tyler's grandma gave me the night before, which, God bless that woman. The jerky was great, and it was the only thing that I had in my stomach the entire time. And I thought the only thing that's going to make this worth it is when we get off of this mountain, and we're going to go find us an IHOP or a Waffle House or some shit like that, and I'm going to go in there and I'm going to have a nice hot meal that's going to just bust my gut, and I am going to have a steaming, strong cup of black fucking coffee. And I was just so excited to just go get some coffee. And because coffee to me it would have given me a little bit of a perk by that point anyway, because there again, we're over 24 hours without food. So, but we get to Alamogordo, and for some reason Tyler decided he didn't want to stop there. He wanted to go further and stop at Tularosa. Well, it was like 9 or 9:30 by the time we got to Tularosa. In Tularosa, everything's closed. Every fucking restaurant in the damn place is closed. Except for what? Subway. That's great, but you know what restaurant I fucking hate? Subway. So I walk in there and I have the best fucking Subway sandwich that I've ever had in my life because it's the first big meal I've had in so long. And I'm still, like I said, I'm still feeling good. I still feel good. I feel like we're gonna do this because it's still kind of light outside and it's still, the weather's nice. But we're gonna do it. We're gonna push through. We're gonna make it happen. But we get out there, and the further we get on the road, we go like a few more hours on the road. We're headed towards, at that point, Las Vegas. Actually, Santa Rosa, then Las Vegas. We had to actually add a little bit of miles out here because we were trying to do 1,000 in one day. 1,000 miles in 24 hours to do an iron butt ride. If we'd gone straight to Las Vegas, we would have come in at like 975 miles or something like that. If we go to Santa Rosa, then Las Vegas, it was actually going to be right at a little over 1,000. So we were going to Santa Rosa. And then we're going to cut back to Vegas. And so we're on the road to Santa Rosa, headed north. And I begin to feel like shit for a lot of different reasons. Number one, I'm beginning to think about Tony. Now that we're gone, now that we're on the road, I begin to think about how Tony is probably also on the road by himself in the desert with a bike that's not reliable. And I began to worry because I'm the guy that invited Tony on this trip. I'm the guy that invited Tony on this trip. And I'm just worried about him. I'm not the type of person who won't leave people behind or anything like that. You know, I mean, this was supposed to be a group ride. And we've lost one, and he's off by himself, and I don't feel good about it. So, but I'm just sitting here thinking, well, you know, it is what it is. We got to keep going. We got to press on. And we keep riding, and it gets dark. Now it's dark. And we're no longer in any towns or anything. We're just out in the desert running through the dark, and there's no lights, there's no nothing. And this is where all of a sudden me losing my clear visor earlier in Texarkana became a big deal because this all of a sudden is not optimal at all. And I can't see where we're going. And also the temperature begins to drop. So we pull over somewhere and I go into a gas station and I put on my liners at this point, just my pants and jacket liners, and under that I've got nothing on. I had nothing but I had riding pants on and then nothing under. A lot of times I wear jeans underneath them. This was just nothing. Underwear and that's it. But I got my liners in and then get back on the road. I don't think that was enough. I needed to stop and put more in, but we're running out of time. At this point, it's 2 or 3 in the morning that we're pushing through, and we're riding really fast. And I'm talking, we were doing 70 and 35 for a while, just trying to get through towns and blow stop signs and shit. I don't think we blew stop signs, but we were hauling ass everywhere trying to make it because I don't know why. Well, I'm worried about Tony. I am getting cold and I need to stop and get more clothes on, which I had. But we're running out of time. We ain't got no time to stop because we left at like 6 the day before. So we've only got like 3 hours left and we've still got like 180 to 200 miles to go. So I don't know. And then we stop at some kind of an intersection and Casey like waves me over. And I'm like, okay. And I go over there and I'm like, what's up? And he says, man, I can't make it. I'm falling asleep on the bike. I can't go any further. I'm completely done. I'm fucking done. And at this point, I'm like, you know, I can't see where I'm going. We've already lost one guy. I'm worried about him. We're losing this guy now. He's dropping off, and I don't really feel like leaving him in a town by himself. So I told him, I said, man, just there's a hotel over here. I will go with you and we'll just split a room. We'll just spend the night. And I said, and then tomorrow, you know what? Fuck it, dude. We'll just go down to Roswell and check up on Tony and then go back home. And he said, that sounds good. So I told Tyler and Drew what we were doing, and they decided that they were going to push on and go on up to Pueblo anyway, which they did, and they made their 1,000-mile ride, and I think they made it with just a few minutes to spare. They rode on, and I think they got home at like 5:35 or 5:45 in the morning, something like that. It was very close. They barely made the Iron Butt, but they did do it, and God bless them because it was a fucked up ride. So I guess that's the story, but actually it's not. So that one night, our group of 5 guys was split into 3 groups across 2 states in 3 different towns. You had the A group, which was Tyler and Drew, made it to Pueblo for the night. I say for the night. They got in at 5:30 a.m. You had the B group, which was Casey and myself, and we spent the night at Comfort Inn in Las Vegas, New Mexico. And then you had Group C, which was Tony and his electric glide in Roswell, New Mexico. And the day after that, I think Tyler and Drew had a day of rest. Casey and I woke up early. I say early. It was like 8:30 or 9. We got up and rode 200 miles down to Roswell. And when we got to Roswell, Tony had taken his bike to the Harley dealership to see if they could fix it. Long story short, they couldn't. This is as short as I can make this story. There's a lot to it. So we're trying to decide, so what are we going to do? We're all 3 back together in Roswell, the Arkansas crew. Tony, myself, and Casey. We were the Arkansas crew. Tyler, Drew were from Texas. So the Arkansas crew is back together. We're here for each other. Now let's figure out what we're going to do. Well, Harley dealership actually made Tony's bike worse because, as you remember, Tony's bike would at least start on its own after a while, after it cooled down. It was like a hot start issue or something. Well, they put new plugs on it. They put new wires, I think. They did all kinds of shit to it. They threw parts at it, which he had to pay for, by the way. It was like $400 something he had to pay for them to throw parts at it. Made the bike worse. Now it won't even start at all. And if it does, I don't know that it ever did start, but for whatever reason, it was worse. I don't know if it wouldn't start at all or if it did start but then not run right at all. For whatever reason, they made it worse, and now the bike was even less reliable than it was before, which is saying something for a Harley. So we're sitting there and we're trying to decide what we're going to do because Tony's called U-Haul. U-Haul said, we can give you a big truck, but it's going to be a shit ton of money. I'm talking like, I was willing to pay a lot of money. I was willing to pay like $300 or $400 myself. I'll chip in $300 or $400 if we can get a fucking U-Haul truck, get all our asses in there and our bikes, and just go home tonight. That's what I wanted to do. But it was going to be like $1,300 to $1,500 just for the truck. Then when you add the gas, that was going to be like probably another $400 or $500. It did wind up being, it was going to be a lot more than what I was willing to pay. So we kind of shit on that idea, decided not to do that. Then we decided maybe we'll get a pickup from Enterprise and rent a trailer from U-Haul, put the 2 together, ride home tonight. Well, for whatever reason, that didn't work. I don't know why. Tony was the one talking to all these people. I don't know if they didn't have a vehicle available or if the trailer wasn't there at U-Haul. I don't know what happened, but that didn't happen either. Oh, man. So at this point, I'm thinking the only thing I can do, the only thing we can do is, because, okay, let me say this first. Tony comes back to me and I say, what do you want to do? Tony says, well, I called my parents. They've got a truck and a trailer. They're just going to drive out here to Roswell and pick me up. And that's what they're going to do. And it's going to be like a day or a day and a half from now before they get here. And I was like, holy shit. But, at least he's got a plan, and it's a solid plan involving people he can count on. So, okay, that Tony is set. Tony's good to go. So, what about Casey and I? Because we can't sit around for another day and a half. So we decided that we're going to go ahead and go home on our own from Roswell, right then and there. So I get on my bike and I'm ready to go. And Casey's not. And I'm like, okay, Case, what's going on? We gotta go. And he's like, well, I had him put my bike in the shop. What the fuck for? I laugh now, but I was really pissed off at the time. I was like, why? He said, well, I wanted him to wash it. Yeah, okay. So it's been in the shop for 2 hours wanting them to wash it. And then he also bought a backrest and he wanted them to install it for him. And I was like, oh my God, dude. I said, do you not know how far we've got to go? I've got to, because by that point I'd already decided we're going home. Casey is set, so we're going to go home on our own. And I booked us a room in Fort Worth. And he was like, well, how many miles is that? I was like, it's like 500 something miles. And he's like, well, my God, John, that's a long ways to go. And I told him, I said, look, dude, we got 800 miles to go before we can get home. We can either do the 500 now and the 300 tomorrow, or we can do 400 now and 400 tomorrow, or 600 now and 200 tomorrow. But for whatever, but no matter how we slice it, we've got 800 miles to go to get home. And Fort Worth is a nice spot in between, and the drive from Fort Worth to Little Rock is absolutely cake. It's completely easy to do. So I was like, why don't we just bust ass today to get there, and then tomorrow will be easy. And he said, well, okay, but I've got my bike in the shop. And I was like, fucking shit. So his bike was in the shop for like 3 hours. It was like 5:30 in the evening before we left that fucking place. And I'm sorry I'm swearing so much, but damn. And I looked at I think I looked at my Google Maps. It was going to be like 10 o'clock before we got to Fort Worth. I want to say it was the Hilton Garden Inn in Fort Worth, which it was a primo place. So we're leaving, and Casey's like, then here again, this is another fucking day of me not eating. We didn't eat breakfast. Like I said, we drove 200 miles to Roswell. When we got to Roswell, we're all about helping Tony get home, so we didn't have any kind of lunch either. We got to Roswell at like 2 o'clock and didn't eat. We didn't eat breakfast, we didn't eat lunch. It's 5:30 in the fucking evening, and I still haven't eaten. This is 2 days in a row where I've gone 24 hours without eating. Or all close to it on that day. Because I think in Tularosa, like I said, it was like 9 o'clock. Well, so here it's like 5:30 or 6. Pretty fucking close. It's like 22 hours today between meals. And Casey was like, John, you've been such a good sport about all this. You pick where we go to eat. I said, motherfucker, we're going to McDonald's. I said, we have got to go. We've got to get out of here. We've got to get on the road and get moving. Let's just go to a McDonald's. And he was like, okay. So we're leaving Roswell. I mean, we're on the city limits, looking out into the horizon. We're about to head off into the great unknown. By the way, there's storms and tornadoes all in front of us too. I mean, bad ones. It made the news that there was all kinds of shit tore up with all these tornadoes ahead of us. And some old man at the Harley dealership was like, boys, y'all don't need to be going down there to Fort Worth tonight. There's all kinds of tornadoes and shit out there. And I didn't want to be mean, but I thought, well, dude, I don't know what else to do because we got to get fucking home. And I don't give a damn about the fucking tornadoes. We'll pull over if we have to. But we'll just do what we got to do. My plan, we got to continually keep going home. We got to keep, whatever we got to do, we got to keep going home. And besides, I had brain gear anyway, so fuck it. So we go to the edge of town and we stop to fill up before we go off into the desert again. And at this point, honestly, I wasn't even thinking about McDonald's anymore because I was just wanting to get on the road. Because fuck it, we got to go. Every bit of time that we spend is, later getting in. Like I said, the night before, getting to Las Vegas, it was 3 a.m. We started at 6 that morning, got to Las Vegas at 3 a.m, and that was when we slept. We woke up at 9 after 6 hours of sleep, rode straight to Las Vegas, or to Roswell, spent the whole day fucking there, and it's gonna be. And I was like, I do not want to get into Fort Worth at 3 a.m. because that's gonna be awful again. Can't do that. We can't do that. We've got to get there because we're already gonna get there at like 10 or 10:30. The more we stop, the more bullshit we do, it's going to be later in the night before we get there, and we don't really need that. We've already had one night of it. So we're filling up gas, and I'm not even thinking of McDonald's at that point. I don't care if we eat or not. We got to go. And we're getting ready to go. Casey goes, hey, mister. And it's this old raggedy looking, it was like ZZ Top looking motherfucker was out there digging in the trash. And Casey was like, hey, man, where's the best place to get an Alien t-shirt here in Roswell? And I was pissed because we just spent 3 fucking hours at the Harley dealership where they got Alien t-shirts wall to wall in that place with the Harley logo on it. I mean, this guy's a big Harley rider. He's got a brand new Street Glide. This is a guy with brand new special edition anniversary Street Glide. You'd think he'd want an Alien shirt with the Harley logo on it, but he didn't want any of those. And number 2, that made me mad because he didn't ask me. I went to Roswell last year and I could have told him the UFO museum's right here down the road. Number 3, it's also stupid to buy from that UFO museum because the t-shirts are like $25 damn at that place. But anyway, the old man was like, well, you can get them at the UFO museum right down the road. And Casey looked at me and was like, can we go there? And I was like, fucking, I guess so, whatever. And he could tell I was getting pissed. And he was like, well, now, John, you got a shirt last year. And I was like, well, yeah, but we weren't in a disaster trip last year where everybody was breaking down and getting stranded. So we went back into town after all this. Went back into town. Went to the Alien Museum or the UFO Museum, which I haven't been into. I went into the gift shop, not the actual museum. He was like, "Are you coming in?" Fuck no, I'm sitting outside. So I just sat outside and burned in my own suit in the heat and the sweat. And he went in there and bought some shirts. And when he comes back out, he said, well, hey, what about that McDonald's? And I was like, you know what, dude, fuck it. We've already been here too damn long. There's a Mexican restaurant right here. We'll just eat there real quick. It's right there, so we're not going to have to drive around looking for anything. It's right there. Let's just go eat. Fuck it. So we went in there, and we're eating, and I am just completely like this because I'm like, this fucking blows so bad. This guy's put it, we were already like 6 hours behind yesterday, and then today should have been a clean run, but it's not because dude put his bike in the shop to be washed and to have a backrest installed right in the middle of a fucking ride. Took like 3 or 4 hours to do. And now he's wanting to buy t-shirts and eat at the Mexican place and chill out and hang out in Roswell. I'm like, dude, we got to go. Oh, God. So then we leave again. And we're back to riding at night now. We're back to riding at night just like we were the night before, where I can't see where the fuck I'm going because all I've got is this. This right here was the fuck up that kept coming back. Because he wanted to fool around in Roswell, now I'm back to riding in the dark and can't see fuck all. And like literally all I can see most of the time with that visor at night are just the lights in front of me. Now, I can ride like that around here where I live because 1, I know these roads, and 2, I'm not going very far, and 3, I'm not going very fast. But out there, when you're trying to get somewhere and you're on the interstates and we're doing 80, 85 mile an hour, I don't know those roads. I don't know what we're doing, or I don't know those roads. We're out there for fucking 5 or 6 hours. That don't work. That don't work. And so here we are again because of all this bullshit. We could have made it to Fort Worth by 10. We got there at like 1:30 in the morning because of all that other bullshit we had to do. And I can't see where the fuck we're going. And it was a miserable fucking ride. Casey, around 8 o'clock, starts falling asleep on his bike, and I can see him. He's on that Street Glide. I'm on the Bandit. He's veering off, like the road is turning, the interstate. Interstate's turning. He begins to, I turn with it. He keeps going straight. So we're doing this in a turn, and I see him cross the white line. I see him cross the fucking rumble strip. He's on the other end of the rumble strip where the pavement's only like this much and then you're fucking dead. And I thought, holy shit, I'm about to watch this guy eat it right here on the fucking interstate doing 85 fucking mile an hour. He's about to die. He finally woke up at the last minute and jerked back over into his lane. And at that point, I run up real fucking close to him. I mean, I could reach out and grab his bars. And I'm trying to like wave my hands like, are you okay or not? And he's like, no. And I was like, holy fucking shit. So now what we're going to do? Don't forget the tornadoes, because they're coming in too. All this bullshit's coming in. We can see them out on the horizon. It was wild. There was big, huge fucking thunderhead clouds over here, and then over here. In the middle, it was clear, and that's where our road was headed. And I kept praying to God, please just let us split this stuff and go in between it. Thankfully, we did. It's like, seriously, thank God that we did. We split it, and we didn't run into any tornadoes or anything. But, I mean, Casey kept falling asleep. So what we had to start doing was, instead of going 80 to 100 miles between fill-ups, we started doing 60 miles between fill-ups. So we started stopping a lot more often. We started going and getting Red Bulls, energy drinks. We started standing around taking our time, drinking the drink, letting it absorb, chill out a little bit, take your time, try to wake back up a little bit before we get on the bikes and keep going. The last stretch we did, we decided to push it, and we did 140 miles on the last stretch from the last fill up to the hotel. We did 140 miles straight. And I was miserable on that trip. That stretch was the hardest because the miles just stack up. We started out 500 miles from Little Rock to Austin. We did like, I don't know how many damn miles, 700 or 800 miles from Austin to Las Vegas through Santa Rosa. We were doing 700 miles that day, or 700 plus miles that day from Las Vegas to Roswell to Fort Worth. And it just sucked. And that 140 miles, I swear I was literally counting down the miles by the tens. You know, when we got to 10 miles, I was like, 130 more to go. We got to 20 miles, 120 more to go. And I kept doing that. I mean, I literally stared at my odometer the entire fucking time and just counted it down by tens until we finally got to the hotel. I was so toasted by the time we finally got there that I almost put my bike down without the kickstand. But I caught it and didn't do that. But I was completely wasted by the time we got there. Like I said, it was 1:30 at night. Can't see where I'm going. Don't know where I'm going. And we're hauling ass trying to get there. It was bad, really bad. But the hotel down there was really nice. I think it was Hilton Garden Inn in Fort Worth. Super nice place. And we woke up the next morning and we went to Cooper's Barbecue in Fort Worth down by the Stockyards, which is amazing. If you've ever had that, if you've never been there, that place is awesome. There's one in New Braunfels, there's one in Austin, there's one in Llano, Fort Worth, and I think there's another one somewhere. I forget. I think it's a new one. But anyway, it's a wonderful barbecue place. It's really great. So we ate there, and then remember now, this entire time, Casey doesn't have a radio. That's another thing. That's another reason he was falling asleep the night before. That was another part of the cascading failures. Remember me talking about his radio didn't work? His radio didn't work the entire trip. So when it was just he and I riding in the middle of the night from Roswell to Fort Worth, he didn't have a radio. So he's just in his own head over there. I'm sitting here, having a party on the Bandit, listening to Pandora, 80s and synthwave music. And Casey is just, he's in his own head over there. He's falling asleep. He's dying. And so the next day after Cooper's, we went to a Cycle Gear down there, and he bought a new Senna, had him install it. And then we finally went home, and it fucking sucked. I've driven from Dallas to Little Rock so many times that I can do it in my sleep. But that trip sucked. It was miserable. Even that short 300 miles sucked, or 400 miles, whatever it is. It sucked ass. And Tyler, I was talking to Tyler about it later, and Tyler was like, well, why was it that bad? It was, you go from Fort Worth to Little Rock all the time. Why was it that bad? And I told him, I said, dude, it just stacks up. You had your day of rest after you did the Iron Butt, which you did. Congratulations. But you took a day off that next day. Me and Casey were humping it on the road. Me and Casey were on the road the entire fucking time. Just busting ass. Eating miles all damn day. And it just adds up. Something about it just adds up. My ass was completely hurting and sore and burnt by the time I got back home. It was just solid. It was a solid whelp. And the entire time I would kind of think it was funny because be sitting here thinking about how miserable I was, and I'd sit here and think, fucking Tony's over at the hotel chilling out in Roswell. He's kicked back with a beer in his room. Tony got screwed over so bad because he had to pay, like I said, he had to pay like $400 for them to work on his bike that day, and they didn't even fucking fix it. Then he had to spend the night in Roswell. Then he had to spend another night in Roswell to wait on his parents. And I think they had some kind of weird event, like a World Series of kickball or something going on, and the hotel rates were skyrocketed. So he paid like, I think it was like $150 or $200 a night just for the place in Roswell, and then plus the $400. I mean, he was out damn near $1,000 for that trip, and he didn't even go the entire way. And his parents came and picked him up. But you know, luckily we all got back home safely. Casey and I got home first. We got home first. Tony and his parents actually made it home not long after us. His parents must have hauled ass out there because they really did get there pretty quick. I don't think it did take them a full day and a half to get there. They got there pretty quick. And then Tyler and Drew went on to do like a 400-something mile ride up in the Rockies. I don't remember where all they went, and then they did a ride home. And Tyler's brother was out there too. He rode from Little Rock straight to Pueblo, and he, I think, went back through Kansas or something or Nebraska or something. I don't know. But we just had a lot of people doing a lot of riding from a lot of places. And looking back, it was an awful trip, but it's one I'll never forget. And I'm glad that I'm at 47 minutes here, but I'm glad I'm getting it down in a permanent way because, you know, I don't want these memories to fade, which they probably won't, but the details might. It really did remind me of one of those old scout trips where just nothing goes right and you just got to deal with it. That's exactly what this was, and it was an adventure, and I think I'll say it again. If you're having fun, it's not an adventure. Because this was not fun, but I'll never forget it. It was a massive undertaking. Wow, it was bad. I've got some pictures of. There's some, you know, I'm going to intersperse some pictures here of Tyler and Drew's ride through Colorado. Some pictures of me and Casey coming back. This is a wild trip, guys. Wild trip. I've never. It really was it was Sufferfest 2019 is what it was. We called it Tour of the West 2019, but it was Sufferfest is what it was. It was a man's ride. I told my wife, I texted her, or I called her. When I found out Casey's bike was going to be in the shop for like 3 or 4 hours, getting him cleaned, getting washed. I called my wife and I completely cut a promo on Casey to my wife, and I said words I normally don't even say because I was so pissed off. And I later on texted her and I said, I am never talking to anyone again. I am never going anywhere again. I am never planning a trip with anybody ever fucking again. I said, from now on, you and I go places by ourselves. That's it. But, so we're going again, all of us. We're going out to Tail of the Dragon later this year. And we're going to try to go to Gatlinburg. Me and Tony and Drew, Casey, and everybody. Megan says she doesn't want to go. I don't know why. But we're going to head out there and hopefully we can have a better trip this time where everything doesn't fucking go wrong. Tony bought a whole new bike. I mean, the trip had lasting ramifications. The trip had lasting ramifications because Tony came back, got rid of his bike, bought a whole new one. I was pissed off at fucking everybody for a long time. I think some people were probably pissed off at me. Everybody was pissed at everybody at one point for one thing or another. except for Drew. Drew was cool about everything. Drew was like sitting back and just watching me blow gaskets and watching Tony blow gaskets and everything else. But yeah, it was a hell of a trip. And I'm glad I got this down, and we'll see you after the next one. Tour of the Smokies 2019 this fall. Oh man, we'll see y'all.